Welcome to Journey Through the Gospels. Here we explore the stories of the Gospel through history, faith, and cinematic storytelling. There are moments in the Gospels when a human need becomes impossible to hide. The day grows late, the place is empty, the crowd is large. Hunger begins to spread quietly among thousands of people. In that open place, far from the villages, Jesus performs one of the most widely remembered miracles of his ministry. The feeding of the 5,000 is told in all four Gospels. That alone tells us how deeply this event marked the memory of the early witnesses. It was not a private sign seen by only a few. It happened before a great multitude, in daylight, in a place where the problem was clear to everyone. The story begins during a heavy season. Jesus and his disciples withdraw to a lonely place near the Sea of Galilee. The Gospels give different parts of the setting, but together they show a moment shaped by weariness, ministry, and the desire for quiet. Yet the people see where he is going, and they follow on foot from the nearby towns. Soon, the lonely place is no longer lonely. The crowd grows around him in the open countryside. Some come out of hope, some come because they have heard of miracles, some come carrying sickness, questions, or sorrow. What they find is not a closed hand, but welcome. Jesus receives them with compassion. He teaches them about the kingdom of God. He heals those who are in need. Mark tells us that he saw them as sheep without a shepherd. That image helps us feel the heart of the moment. This is not only a large crowd, it is a human gathering full of weakness, longing, and need. The hours pass. The sun begins to drop lower over the land near the lake. The crowd is still there, spread across the grass and the slopes, listening and watching. The disciples begin to see what the people themselves may already be feeling. This place is remote, evening is coming, food is running out. Their concern is practical and reasonable. Send the people away, they suggest, so they can buy food in the villages. It is the obvious answer. No one standing there could imagine another realistic solution. A crowd that large could not be fed easily even in a town, and here they are in the open country. Then Jesus says something that shifts the whole moment. He tells the disciples, in effect, that they should give the people something to eat. The command exposes the size of the need at once. The disciples do not have what is required. In John's account, Philip measures the problem in cost, and even a great sum of money would not be enough for each person to have even a little. Andrew notices one small possibility. There is a boy nearby with 5 barley loaves and 2 fish. But even as he says it, the question hangs in the air. What is that among so many? The food is real, but it is small. It is not enough by any normal measure. The insufficiency is part of the miracle's force. Jesus does not answer the scarcity with panic. He tells the disciples to have the people sit down. The Gospels describe the crowd settling in groups on the grass. It is a calm and orderly scene, not a moment of confusion. Thousands of people are seated across the hillside, waiting without yet knowing what they are about to receive. Then the scene narrows to Jesus himself. He takes the loaves and the fish into his hands. He looks up, he gives thanks, he blesses the food and breaks the bread. The act is simple, quiet, and deeply deliberate. Nothing in the outward movement is dramatic, yet everything is about to change. The food begins to pass from his hands to the disciples, and from the disciples into the crowd. They move among the people, giving bread and fish, then giving again. Row after row, group after group, the meal continues. The miracle is not described with spectacle. It is seen in the plain fact that the food does not run out. One person eats, then another, then another. Families receive enough. Men who had spent the day standing in the sun now sit and eat. Women and children eat. The tired, the curious, the sick, who had come near for healing, the ones who may have arrived with almost nothing in hand, all receive food. The place of need becomes a place of satisfaction. This is important. The Gospels do not say the crowd merely sampled the bread. They say the people ate and were satisfied. That means enough. Enough for hunger to end. Enough for relief to spread through the multitude. Enough for astonishment to rise as people begin to realize what has happened around them. And when the meal is over, Jesus gives another instruction. The disciples are told to gather up the pieces that remain. They move through the crowd again, but now they are collecting, not distributing. Basket after basket is filled until 12 baskets of leftovers remain. The sign of abundance is visible to all. What began with obvious lack has ended in visible overflow. There had been only 5 loaves and 2 fish. Now the people have eaten fully, and the remainder is greater than anyone standing there could have expected. The miracle is not only that there was food, it is that there was more than enough. John tells us that the crowd responds by recognizing the event as a great sign. Some begin to say that Jesus is truly the prophet who is to come into the world. They understand that this is not a random wonder. It reveals something about who he is. In this open place, Jesus has done what no ordinary teacher could do. The story also carries an older memory in the background. Israel knew the story of God providing food in the wilderness. Here again, in a place away from the settled comfort of villages, the people are fed. The miracle does not erase that earlier memory, it stirs it. But now the crowd is not only hearing about God's provision in the past, they are receiving bread from the hands of Christ in the present. The disciples also learn something they will not forget. They see the need clearly, but they cannot solve it. Still, Jesus draws them into the work. He does not tell them to stand aside and watch from a distance. He places the blessed food in their hands and sends them through the crowd. They become servants of a provision they did not create. That remains one of the quiet strengths of this miracle. Jesus sees need with compassion. He answers it with abundance, and he allows his followers to take part in giving what he alone provides. The disciples are not the source, but they are entrusted with the distribution. Their weakness is not the end of the story. For the crowd, the memory would have been impossible to shake. They had come into a lonely place with hunger close behind them. As evening fell, there was no visible answer. Then Jesus fed them, not with the resources of a city, not with loaded animals bringing supplies, but with a meal so small, it seemed almost meaningless before the miracle began. For the church, this story has long remained a sign of Christ's mercy and fullness. Later, Christian worship has often seen in this event a pattern that points beyond the hillside, taking, blessing, breaking, and giving. But even before that later reflection, the plain meaning of the story stands with great force. Jesus did not ignore the hungry, he fed them, and that is why this miracle still speaks so clearly. It shows the heart of Christ in a visible way. He is not distant from human weakness. He does not respond only to the strong, the prepared, or the important. He receives the crowd in its need, and he provides more than the crowd could have imagined. The feeding of the 5,000 invites us to remember both the compassion and the sufficiency of Christ. A wilderness place becomes a table, a small meal becomes abundance. Fear gives way to gratitude, and need gives way to satisfaction. In the hands of Jesus, what seems completely inadequate is not the end of the story. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe for more gospel stories.